Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
How's it going, Steve?
Yeah, I'm having one of those days.
I've noticed. Trust me.
You know, you read so much and you just lose all, like, not all, you lose a lot of hope. You read some of the stuff that people are buying or that people are saying and expect people to buy. Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of my countrymen and women forgetting what it means to be an American, which is individual rights and freedoms trump everything else. And,
Well, you just said a trigger word.
well, I mean, it trumps everything else.
I agree. Yeah. Well, maybe that's what the plan is, a dumb down of society so that eventually you can't read, so you won't get mad by the things that...
Well, I mean, they already took away cursive writing.
That's true.
So,
I don't-
I just remember hearing stories about people having to sign their name with an X, and you know, you learn that education is what makes society, like the way that they control society in the past was to dumb down the education or not to allow an education. I mean, there was a point in time where like women weren't allowed to be taught how to read. You know that, right? Like, it's not like a made up. It's not in the far too distant past either.
They probably changed that history.
Well, I learned it when I was younger.
That's why I keep telling you, I want to save those texts or those encyclopedias my dad has. So when they change all the history, I'll be like, really? Because here's a book from, 1983 or whatever, I don't know. But, you know what I'm saying? Something
No, it's,
pre-computer age where we just change history,
you know, I don't know. It's just frustrating to have watched and lived, been a part of our government, and I understand, you know, a great deal of, not everything, obviously. I wasn't at the top or whatever, but I was pretty, you know what I mean? I was pretty successful in my ventures. Met a lot of people, met a lot of families that you see in the news. Maybe not the people that you see in the news, but I don't know. It's just disconcerting to see how quickly Americans will give up rights and freedoms, and it's happening day in and day out. And I don't know if it's because we're not calling enough to our senators and congressmen and women on the national level. I mean, I write all the time to the state. I don't want to say all the time, but quite a bit. If I see a topic that interests me, I'll send a note.
Yeah.
Locally, though, I don't really do it like, because I think I told you before, I called in to either Hassan or somebody's COVID panel, and it was all like actors reading note cards. It was like I almost could have made a Saturday Night Live skit off of it because it was so. It was like bump, set, and spike, if you understand volleyball. Like the people that were the random callers, quote unquote random callers, had very government-friendly talking points that they were, instead of asking pointed questions, they were asking leading questions to get them to describe even more how their government's going to take care of us by limiting our freedoms. I mean, all you got to do is think about it. They shut down churches and kept liquor stores open. What else do you need to know? Like, look, to me, that's like the most obvious thing. And ever since that's happened, everybody,
The booze is the almighty, apparently.
if that's how you want to see it. But, I don't
Well,
know.
that's because in New Hampshire, the state is the one that has the liquor store.
So the virus, whatever. Just,
Hey, I wonder where that money goes.
which money?
The alcohol money. We
Oh,
sell a lot of alcohol in
Because
this
the state runs the.
Yes, they own it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why my tax rate is going up. I don't understand that.
Me neither.
The whole mathematical formula that they discussed doesn't ring correct in my head as I replay it. In my head, of course, I'm not watching it, but there's a 60% increase in property value, but 40% decrease in commercial value. Is that something along those lines, right?
Yeah. I wish it was the paper, but I thought it was more. I thought, pretty sure residential was up 89%.
Yeah.
Overall, I think the town was up like 60-something percent. But almost every
But
commercial place like doubled. Or how a residential place like doubled.
so,
But commercial property went down.
what was the old school tax rate?
$33 and change.
And so now it's only going to go down $6 with all this in.
Supposedly it's going to be around 20. So either 19 and 20, 21 right there.
And what was it before?
33 and change.
I thought I heard it was only going to go down to like $26.
Not unless something drastically changed. And if so, then we should be flipping out.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll strike that from the record then. I'll hold off on that.
But don't
until-
you think it would drop 89%?
I would think that it would drop.
Which would be less than
I think
20.
it would drop proportionally to the amount of increase overall at the town. So, yes, my property value increased, so there'll be a slight rate increase in taxes, obviously because of that. But we were told your tax rate will go down so that you'll basically be paying the same amount of taxes. That was told to us in a meeting.
Don't you love that? How they say, okay, good news is we won't be fifth highest in the taxes in the state of New Hampshire anymore. We're going to be in the middle because the tax rate went down. I'm paying the same amount of money. So not a damn thing changed. You just changed formulas.
Yeah, that's how polling and statistics work.
Smoke and mirrors,
Yes.
baby. Smoke and mirrors.
That's how everything in the government works. Is they try to rope-a-dope you, and not only what they said was wrong, it was incorrect because that's not true. My taxes, my property taxes increased at least $1,000 or more dollars, probably $2,000.
I think mine stayed the same. It actually went down a little bit.
Oh, good for you.
Oh, it's about to go up. drastically up. So,
Doing some improvements over there on your
Yeah.
property.
so today's Thursday. We're supposed to do a show Tuesday and Wednesday, but I'm sorry. I have to get a house to live in. So Tuesday, tried to prep and fix everything that the rain smoked out on me for the last week. And then yesterday we had the concrete poured. And, excuse me. So, here's
You
a
get the
picture.
sniffles? You got allergies, or are you ill? Because you said something on Monday when we filmed. Then all day Tuesday, my eyes kind of watered. And I was like, did Tim get me sick with something? But then I realized I received so many vaccinations when I was in the military that nothing really will
You'll be
phase
good.
me.
No, I don't know. It's weird because it comes and goes. That's why I kind of think more allergies because
Well, yeah, you sound like allergies today, whereas Monday you seemed
Yeah.
like you were tired, but like today it seems
because
like,
yesterday during the day when I was outside, I was fine. Then as soon as I got home, my nose got stuffy. I'm like, what the hell?
New cat? New dog?
No, same dog, but I'm allergic to all those things. So I don't know.
Tony? Maybe Tony's dander's rubbing off on
Maybe.
my
I
new
don't know.
dog.
New dog. New to here.
New to here. I mean, I had him
Old as hell.
for 7 years, and my parents had him for 7 years. So he's about 15 or 16 because he was a rescue.
He's a
He's,
good boy.
he's getting up there. He looks like a Spinosaurus coming up out of the water. His poor spine.
Imagine getting
I'm
him,
trying to fatten him
Oh,
up. He's
imagine
just not
getting-
gaining any weight.
imagine we can get him fattened up like 20 pounds. He'll look like a tank. You gotta show me a picture when he's younger. I bet he was a handsome boy. He looks like
was,
he's got
yeah.
that build, like
He was a good-looking dog. He was
strutting around.
He was, he was a boxer mix, is how they advertised him, but probably means he's like a pit mix. That's what
Yeah.
they do, allegedly. Allegedly, I must say that for legal purposes.
Allegedly. We should just start every show with the information you may see in this show is all allegedly.
Yeah, it's all allegedly until you look it up and read for yourself, and you're like, oh my gosh, Steve actually missed part of it. It's actually
Right.
worse than
It's
what
actually
he's
worse than he
portraying
sold it to us.
He's selling it to us kind of like wryly with a smirk on his face, but this is scary. Some of the information, when you go down the rabbit hole, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were talking about the work
Yeah,
that you
so
did for the last couple days.
so we did the concrete yesterday. Thank you for coming over at 7:15, 10 minutes to 7 in the morning.
It was a little late.
It's all right.
Well,
And,
part of what was driving me was I made Nikki breakfast because I knew I was getting donuts. Because y'all had said, oh, there'll probably be some donuts involved for you. So I took probably as I'll be getting breakfast. So I made Nikki an egg.
And you
That was
did?
up. I did. I got a good donut. I saw your sandwich over there. I was about to come take half of it, but you needed more.
I had a muffin in there.
Oh, did you?
I never made it. Took like 2 sips of coffee. I was too busy.
Yeah, you were in the zone yesterday. You had to get work done. I was there for like just trying to get some credit for helping out so that I can get some help around here when I need it. But I mean, we worked hard though. Like I said, because it started raining on us because we tried to do it Tuesday night, and
Yeah.
what we're talking about is resetting the pad for the garage floor base because you had originally did the first pad, which you didn't really. It didn't need to be as precise, so to speak, as
Yeah, so the first pad was just a regular slab for a double wide. So this one, though, for the garage, did Alaskan slab. So it has thicker edges, to hold the weight of the garage and upstairs and stuff. And so I didn't originally plan on doing that until my dad came over. My dad's like, oh, this is what you need to do. So I already had the form set up, which take a while. I mean, at least for me, because I don't do it every day to make sure everything's square and all that stuff. So then he says, hey, you got to do this. I didn't plan on any of that. Had I planned on that, I would have gotten more 2x6s and formed the whole thing, and then we wouldn't have had to do any other things we just had to do. But that, and I would have made sure it was all sand on top, because I had to dig with the excavator, because it's, I fill all this in, but I've been packing it down, obviously, because I don't want anything to move. And my dad came in like last minute and said, yeah, you need to do the Alaskan slab. I'm like, okay. So what Steve's talking about is the trench, basically, that's around this trough all the way around the form. And then, so you've got, this much of an open area all around it. The rain washed it in from different
washed all your
directions.
corners
and
in, basically. And
so in order to save a lot of money in concrete, we had to fix those. And honestly, I'm glad you came in, Steve, because you might not have experience with this, but the whole 2x6 thing going down there is what made that work. Because I was like, well, I'll just have to fill it in with rocks, and you guys actually filled it in way more than I expected, which made us have just enough concrete. So there was no calling and saying, oh yeah, hey, so we're short again. We need more concrete, because it's expensive when you do that. So yeah, we got it done. A couple of things.
it's all those years of supervising, by the way. I've watched many a project get built from afar, so I come up with an idea every once in a while.
That works. Yeah, one little thing. The first driver that came out, putting the crete in, and he got right close to the edge and like pushed the dirt in a little bit, and almost, I was like, I was worried because I'm like, dude, don't bump it, don't touch it. Like, so the last slab, me, Corey, my uncle, and Alan did that one. And with this one, I had Jason Rook come in and help me because he's done concrete many, many, many times. And the garage has to be perfectly smooth and, it has to be a professional job. I wish we had borrowed his, was it a Screeb? The
like level
vibrating. Yeah, we were using a 2x6, and because it would have been a million times better. Because our slab, although it will work perfectly fine, I've had to work under it all yesterday, and I will continue to have to do work under it. And it's not as smooth, let me tell you. It was rough on my knees. I actually had Andrew buy me some knee pads. I'm like, can you buy me some knee pads when you're out? Because this is killing me. Like, and I'm wearing shorts, of course, because that's what I do. My knees are like, they're hurt and roughed. And so she gave me knee pads. I'm like, oh, this is so much better. But, so here's a picture of the concrete all done. So this is what it should look like. And it looks good. He did an awesome job. He power trialed it, and I was worried. He's like, I got to go get my kids at this certain time. So you might have to, do the last couple of rounds of this. And I'm like, I've never power tried anything in my life. Like, I don't want nothing to do with this. Like, the reason I had you come here to make it look good, so it looked good, not for me to mess it up while you're gone for freaking 20 minutes, So, no, huge thank you for you for helping, Corey, Alan stopped in, and then obviously Jason for doing that for me. And it worked out because I've helped him with a lot of things in the past, and this is my payback. Like, here, come power trial this out and smooth it out, and so I can start.
That's
building.
good.
I can start building a garage.
You were setting the bolts whenever I left, so
Yeah, I ran out some bolts in the corner over there, but it's fine. I can just use nails. I have it's a 22. I don't know if you've ever seen them. It's a 22 like blank in there, and you put your concrete nail in, and you just hit it with a hammer. Kind of like a gunshot, but it sends it in.
I've seen something similar on this old house when he was helping a lady redo her own basement. It was some type of, but it was like in a drill, but basically it popped it in so it'd go into the concrete in the basement.
Yeah,
that's what I was asking about. I was like, is this just so you don't have to use one of those?
Yeah, so you don't have to, But I actually got probably more in there than I needed. My dad said every 8 feet, but I think I got some extras. But first of all, I don't understand half these things anyways. It's not going anywhere. Like, I have to put hurricane straps on the house. It's not going anywhere. Do you know how heavy that thing is?
Hey, it only takes one good gust of wind to get it at the right angle.
I was talking to my dad. I said, he's like, yeah, I watched this video one time of a hurricane came through. He said, you know anything left once the hurricane came through?
The straps.
Nope. The slab. That's it. There's nothing left. We don't get hurricanes up here. It ain't going anywhere, and it'll be completely closed in.
Hey, when I was in, I want to say it was when I was in college, when I was learning about the grant system and how it can be, taken advantage of or whatever, to look for the warning signs. But anyway, there was a grant that somebody had requested that basically studied tornadoes as they hit trailer parks. They have a preponderance. His hypothesis was that somehow tornadoes are naturally accustomed to hitting trailers. So he was able to get a grant to build a fake trailer park to watch and see if tornadoes would hit it. He was in Tornado Alley in like Missouri or
So you're saying
Kansas
that
somewhere.
tornadoes don't like trailer parks?
Yeah. That was according to this grant that I read in the 90s. I want to say it was in the 90s. Mid-90s.
What kind of... It's not...
This could be like an old wives' tale that I'm remembering partially of the professor telling me the story versus me reading it, but I'm pretty sure that we looked it up back in the day. Or he had the paperwork to show. 'Cause I think he knew the guy. Anyway, put the hurricane straps on that bad boy, please. Because a tornado could hit. Hasn't a tornado hit up here in the last few years?
Yeah. But...
Yeah. What if it touches down right on your pad and then jumps counties?
Be pretty interesting.
I'm telling you, you can look up.
I'm gonna put the straps in.
I used to live
anyways.
in Tornado and Hurricane Alley. I lived in all those places, man. Put the strap on. It's my bottom line of my story is crazy things can happen. And in the 90s, I learned of a guy who had a hypothesis that tornadoes would hit trailers more than it would.
Have you seen the straps, by the way?
Yeah, I saw them whenever we were breaking this down at the old place.
Those damn straps ain't strong enough to hold shit. Come on, it's a thin piece of metal.
Hey,
It's not even
yeah.
solid steel. What's it gonna do? Slow it down?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll roll slower. Keep it from the neighbor's lawn.
Well, hopefully we don't ever have to deal with tornadoes or
I'll be pissed.
hurricanes.
We don't have tornado coverage. Seriously though, this thing freaking weighs more than this garage.
So how did you close the gap? Because whenever I left on Tuesday, we had it about 4. On the one side, it was pretty much closed. On the other side, there was like 4 to 6 inches.
Something freaking good, man. Now, here's a picture. This is last night just before I left. No gap. No, I'll explain all this. So, I've never done this, first of all. And it's very easy. I watched a YouTube video. It's kind of funny to hear Jason say that yesterday. I watched a YouTube video. How
Well,
to
that's
do
why I
concrete.
asked you before. Well, I was like, did you?
No. So I did watch YouTube video. Everything I learned on YouTube video is pointless because they have fancy equipment. So they have this thing they jack up the front, and it's on a metal
You have
thing.
to go to the sub YouTube forums.
Yeah, I need like redneck friggin' YouTube. Like this guy here used their oxen and no. So it's been a very long process and stressful, but actually kind of feel pretty good after last night because you can see just from the picture how straight it is now. And yeah, so the gap. So I closed the gap in the front, and then I put my excavator up against it so it didn't separate. But the back gap, I just been struggling to get it. So I just started to go around, and so as you jack up on the outside, it closes the top gap,
Right.
and then you're trying to get the floor level. So then I called my dad, because my dad's been doing stuff like this forever. So he's like, Tim, you need to worry about closing the floor. Don't worry about the roof because that'll happen after. You have to level the floor first. I said, okay. So that gave Andrea pause. Or she was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, that's what I've been freaking doing for hours now. But she felt better. Okay, cool. No, so we basically went around and just jacked up like we were,
Like
need
we
to.
were doing on Tuesday, which was
Yes.
how we described probably it would
So-
happen.
I did a couple things.
Right? That's what we said. Like when
Right.
we jack it up on the outside.
Yes. So I took one of my my 6x6 hemlock beams I got for the barn, and at first I jacked it up on both sides, equally, so the whole back end is not off the ground, but it's got the weight off it. And then I still have that chain hooked to it, and hooked to the excavator to try to pull it over, and it kind of closed it. At one point it was touching, so I was like, oh, cool. And then I started jacking stuff, and nope, it opened again. I'm like I got the floor touching in the living room, but I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So I have these wheel dollies you put on the car and you push around in the garage. So my buddy gave me 4 of them. They're older, heavy duty ones, and I'm like, I'm sure these are gonna break because they're made for a car. So 1,000 pounds of wheel probably, not, I don't know, 40-ton freaking house or whatever. So I put the jack in there, jacked it up enough, and actually grabbed it with the excavator and pulled it tight, and it was tight. It only smoked one of them, so I was like, hey, cool, job done. Let it down. Me and Andrew went around and jacked and tried to get things, gap open back up. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Every time yesterday I'd jack up on the outside corner to close the top, and it would open it. I'm like, that's not possible. So I was getting frustrated, and then Andrea bought a come along because the first one I got, which was one of her dad's, it was like a light duty one. It smoked it. the cable like shredded off or whatever, and then broke. I'm like, So she goes to Napa.
Yeah, that thing's heavy because every time you use the
Yeah.
chain or strap, I don't know if you noticed, but I went and hid behind some other piece of machinery. Did you notice that the other day? Emilio came with me one time. He was like, "I'm gonna go over here with you."
I don't admit that on air. Makes you look like a puss.
No, it looks like I was protecting my eyesight in case something snapped because it's very heavy.
Listen, you ain't got to worry about your eyes. That chain hits you in the face. It's going to do more damage than eyes.
That's true.
But, no, so.
You know, my wife did work at urgent care for quite a while, so I'm very aware of the types of injuries that can occur.
Listen, you got hit in the head with that
A bunch
chain.
of clowns.
You're
out
going to
here
need more
like
than a
us.
wife. You're going to need
No, I know.
the
I'd
dart
probably
helicopter.
I'd be dead, but you get my point. That's
I
why
do
was
get your
hiding
point.
behind
Nah, I get your
wasn't
point.
hiding, but
You're hiding, cowering. Steve was cowering behind the machinery. No. So I said, hey, can you go down to Napa? Maybe they got to, because originally I was going to go to Harbor Freight, get to come along, because obviously it's way cheaper. And for what I'm doing, I don't need any high-tech, expensive, But we kind of got, later in the day, I was like, just go down to Napa and see if they've got one, and if they have knee pads, because I really could use those, because this is rough. So he goes down there. It's like, they don't have neither. I'm like, what? How does Napa not have a come along? I said, well, I'll try La Valley's. So now, La Valley's had a come along. So I hooked the come along how I did on the back before, and I closed that gap completely. And I left it there. So that way, when I keep jacking and stuff, things will level out and stuff, but not somehow separate again, at least until it's set, and then I should be able to take it off and be good. But I'm just goofing around with you. It's been a frustrating process.
no, I know.
But it is, if you look at it, this picture actually shows it pretty well too, but if you went up there right now and looked at it, it's actually quite straight. Things look good. And so I'm getting there. Got to order the roofing hopefully today. And then my dad said usually if you order it by Saturday, you'd have it by the next Thursday. So that I can get that, because that's the first order of business is getting the roof on it. So that way all the work I do inside doesn't get wet and wrecked. So, yeah, I'm getting there. It's just been it's great, though, because the change from a month ago to now is huge, where the progress I've made there over the last, 7 years has been slow. But this year we've really, Mrs. Gilson, who lives up the road, who was my gym teacher back in the day, and she walked by and it's like, you got a big project ahead of yourself. I'm like, yeah, but I'm getting there. And it's come a long way. So neighbors are probably pissed because now they're going to see a house in a garage and not see my animals. They're probably excited about seeing the animals, but my neighbors can take a peek down there and look at the animals anytime they want.
Yeah, I was happy to see that the one side that you have closed off's got a lot of grass coming up.
Yeah,
Probably
maybe.
from all that hay and everything. So
Yeah.
hopefully, if
Straight manure.
But if you can let it, sit there for a few more weeks, it might.
Yeah, I might grass up pretty good.
But it's how long do you keep them?
Yeah, because they'll destroy the other side soon. So it's tough. I see a neighbor do it all the time. He's got more land, pasture.
Once you open up that back,
Yes. Yeah, you open up a couple acres, they're fine. They'll move around so much that.
yeah, you'll be able to put a.
But that's what your neighbor does. You see him move his cows. I'll come through and he'll have them on the right side and the left, and then they won't be there at all. And, sorry about that. Thought that was connected. Yeah. So getting there, Steve.
No, I'm excited to come supervise the inside work so I can learn how to do all that kind of stuff.
Of course, all the plywood we put on here
Got to be redone.
needs to all come off. Just for the record, hopefully she didn't watch this one, but I told her we shouldn't do it because it's going to flex and move, and sure enough. Granted, now that it's on, it'll be easy to take it off, reset, and put it back, but I'm just happy it's there. It really doesn't matter. That's all that really matters, that it's there and I can start to make progress. You're complaining about the mud, but it hasn't rained all summer. All freaking summer, it hasn't rained. Where I was talking, before I headed over, I was like, all summer we wanted rain for our gardens. Because if we had gotten rain like this,
Yeah, I would have.
man, we would have been
I mean, I'm still blessed with the amount of tomatoes that I have.
But we probably would have double the vegetables, I bet. Like, it would have been that big of an impact.
I was kind of disappointed in my. Whenever I left here, I was so proud of my squash patch, and then, but to be fair, I got what 10. I don't know. I'm getting quite a few, but my butternut and my acorn did not produce like it did last year. Like I still had like 4 or 5 butternut last year and like 12 acorn.
Well, I got a bunch of acorn, but they're little.
Mine are little too.
My butternut, last I saw, was pretty good.
Mine hasn't grown.
I know.
It might though after the last couple of days of rain. I had a deer. I think it was a deer because whatever came and got my corn 2 nights ago just ate it right off the stalk. They didn't pull it up like last time.
Yeah.
It was obvious it was
It's
a bear.
not a bear. Yeah.
Like this went and just was gnawing on it on the stalk. Didn't hit anything else in the garden, oddly enough, just the corn. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, might have been a raccoon. Raccoons like corn.
Yeah, it could have been. I've never seen a raccoon around here though.
Yeah, you don't.
And it's
see very
interesting too because with the puppy, like that's why I look tired a lot, quite a bit, is because, I hate the kennel, but we put him in a kennel now whenever we leave if we're not home so that he doesn't have an accident.
often. Or straight up just go on the floor on purpose. Yes.
Yeah, out of meanness.
Or
But
just like
because he does so the dog I brought from Texas, his nails were a little long, so I'm working on him to get him back down to, you know what I mean? But you can hear him clacking, so he walks up and down the center hallway, which is tiled. So you can hear him walking back and forth, pacing, so that means he needs to go outside. JJ will hit you with his nose and get you to follow him either to the treats if he wants a treat or to the back door if he wants to go outside. So you just got to follow JJ and he'll show you if he needs to go outside because JJ's a pretty good dog. Now the puppy, on the other hand, goes for any of the 9 doors that you can get out of my house, or maybe 12. I don't know how many different doors. We have a lot of
you do have a lot of doors.
egresses and ingresses for my house. Anyway, so he'll run towards the door, and if you don't see him, then he's just like, "Yeah, I guess I'll go." So the puppy, my point is, I let him out at all points of time. And JJ, when he hears something down there, will run and bark, and he'll run down to the garden. I've never heard him squeal and run back because sometimes a raccoon will slap you. Bear will probably run off. But of all animals, I would think a raccoon would probably stand its ground on a dog more than a bear or a deer.
You need Alan's dog. His dog's stupid. You know how many times that thing had porcupine quills in it?
Oh, JJ's had him twice.
Oh, this thing's probably had it twice this month.
Really? He still hasn't learned his lesson?
No, the dog is dumb like Alan. I love you, Alan, but
Well, if I hear JJ growling and it's close to the house, I won't let him out because it could be a porcupine. Because the 2 times that he's gotten quilled, we've had to dequill him ourselves with some pliers. And it hasn't been as many as, because I think Max had 200 at one time. Didn't he have a lot? I don't know.
a lot.
200, but it was.
I think it was 150.
Yeah, he had to take him to the vet. My goal is to not have to take my dog to the vet, like me going to the doctor, only in life or death situations. Whereas Nikki will take the dog to the vet and spend $500 for a stomach ache because he ate a flower that he shouldn't have. Whereas I'll be like, throw it up, buddy, walk it off.
I mean, to be fair to Max, though, he's been hit by a vehicle, I think, twice, survived. He's had a lot of things happen to him. Yep. Of course.
He was at the wedding or the reception.
Reception. Alan asked me, I said, hey, let's not bring him to the wedding because I was just, no. But the reception, I was like, he's fine. I mean, he's good. He just whines. Alan brings him everywhere. We went to the Mexican place yesterday for lunch, and he brought him in because it's his service dog. And he's good, but if you hook him on the leash and then, we're working yesterday, he just whines because he's a husky. So he's like, "Wah." He sounds like a human talking, kind of, but, if he didn't do that, he's a pretty good dog, other than that.
Yeah, I don't like dogs that make a lot of noises.
Oh, he just would he would sit there and just whine and howl.
I had a Basenji once.
I was a Basenji.
That's a barkless sighthound from Africa.
The hell did you get one of them from?
Breeder
Africa.
down in Houston actually had them, and I got this advice I got this dog on the advice of my brother, who had just researched dogs, and of course, I was like, oh well, my brother's a smart guy. So I went and I ran with it. I'm like, all right, I'm 21 or 2, whatever, out of college, living by myself in an apartment. I'll get me a good sight hound dog that doesn't make any noise. Let me tell you something. That dog makes the worst noise. A Basenji, whenever it wants attention. Let me just say this. We had nuns come downstairs in South Carolina asking Nikki if I was slapping her around and if she needed an out because the dog sounds like a human in distress. So, like, we went to the mall or something and we left him in his kennel, and it sounds horrible. So, anyway. That was my Barkless Sighthound. That dog loved me, though. Nikki will tell you he was a jerk, just like me. Like, if a woman came in and he wanted attention and she didn't give him attention, he would go and find her purse and destroy something in her purse. Like, he would fill out their scent. Like, I tested it one time. He destroyed my mother-in-law's keychain. He destroyed like about 4 or 5 different keychains. No. Hey, when I was deployed, if Nikki was mean to him, he'd go and take a leak on her pillow. So she said, I was like, hey, why you spend so much money at Macy's or some department store? She's like, your dog got mad at me again and messed on the pillow, so she had to buy new pillows all the time.
You really are good at training dogs.
I am.
You train that dog to do all this. I know it now.
The dog whisperer. No, that was I'm a lot better and more patient now. I was not a very patient dog owner with the Basenji because the noises. And he was very smart, too. So you could put him in a fence, and if it was like a cyclone fence, he would climb out of it like a raccoon would. I mean, that dog could maneuver, and he could jump high. So he was like parkour. So he could, like, jump off walls to get up higher.
I knew a guy had hunting dogs. Man, what were they?
I sent him to
Walkers.
I sent him to
They can jump. Stupid eye.
dog trainer in Louisiana, like the dog whisperer of Louisiana. Could train all kinds of dogs. He specialized in hunting dogs. And I'm like, well, he's an African Sighthound. They use him for hunting in Africa. No, he called me after like 10 days and didn't even charge me for the food. I was like,
You know why?
he is untrainable.
No.
Send him back to me.
You sent him to Louisiana. The guy had such an accent, the dog couldn't understand what the hell he was saying.
Nah, I speak fluent Louisianian. I can. That dog heard enough. You forget where I'm from, man. You seen a video of my cousin taking down an alligator with an arrow
That's true.
on a rickshaw boat. I mean, it's basically like a rickety old rickshaw without the wheels. It's closed off the bottom end of it. Anyway. That's my dog story. My Basenji.
Excuse me.
It's a barkless dog, but it's loud whenever it wants attention and it needs attention.
It's like every freaking dog. My dog's good until it hears something, or I'm excited to get her up to the land, though, because when she's there, I just got to figure out how to keep her in the yard, though.
Get you an electric fence. I have one up here. I just don't know where it lies.
I was thinking about one of those Caesars, is it? Halo.
My brother has that.
Expensive.
He said that, and I've only talked to him once or twice since he implemented it, and I don't think the dogs really even need it that much anymore. But it takes a while to get them trained to it. But one of them like went off on the dog inside the house, because it's still kind of proprietary, and so like that kind of messed the dog up.
He knew not to go in the living room anymore.
You know what I mean? So I say that to say,
Why
like,
won't Benji go in the living room anymore? I don't know.
But
Half
I mean,
hour.
you can have those kind of things with any other technology. So I'm not necessarily slamming the Halo. I'm just saying, do your research, or buy an underground electric wire and put it in. Since you got a backhoe and everything else, you can do that pretty easily, or excavator. Put that wire right up underneath the ground and keep him within a certain.
No, that's way too much work.
Not really, compared to the amount of work you've been doing.
You know how much work I've still got to do? Oh, you'll see. You'll be assisting.
I mean, you could probably buy something to put on the back of your tractor and drive around in a circle and dig a wedge around.
Yeah. It's called a freaking 40-foot chain. Don't leave from the 40-foot circle.
I hate that. I hate when I go down the road and I see dogs in a little dog pen all the time, standing on top of their
Yeah, no,
house barking
I don't.
in their 8x8
We
cage.
put our dog out on a leash to go to the bathroom. That's it. Or if like nice day out, want to be outside kind of thing. But yeah, I don't like that. I love JJ because JJ will go anywhere and you don't even need a leash. That's what I hope in the future for Jingles. I think once we're there, she's got like boxer and husky in her too, so she's got that hyper, curious nature. But I think she's got energy. She's 2 years old. They're not quite 2, yeah. So I worry she'll harass the animals a lot, but.
You got to remember, JJ was. So we trained JJ pretty well. He never. I don't even think he ever had an accident in the house when he was a puppy. Like his sister came over, and she obviously was the one that pooped in the hallway. Our neighbor who bought his sister was like, "No, that was JJ." I'm like, "JJ's never had an accident," and this is even when he was a puppy. Then when we went to Hawaii, we had to quarantine him for 3 or 4 months. So we sent him to live with a woman I knew. Her name was Greta. Her and her husband, great people. He hunts, so JJ spent his next 3 months, or while he was in quarantine, however long it was, before he could go to Hawaii, living with this couple who train their dogs to hunt duck. So JJ was basically living with these other 2 retrievers, and they had a pool that they could swim in. They could come and go. Anyway, so JJ's had a lot of training to stay and be as good as he is.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and I know it's tough with dogs.
Or you can buy an underground wire.
Could. So the reason we've kind of talked more on the show today than normal, because we just don't feel like doing the national news too much today. There's a few things, but we
got some local stuff.
We have a bunch of local stuff. So I'm going to mention this tonight too, because I think it's a huge thing.
Oh, wow. We're already 40 minutes in?
Yeah. Don't steal this from me either. I'll make sure I speak first at board communication tonight.
I think you usually do, if you're at the end of the table.
Oh, okay.
She usually goes from the end to the...
Troublemakers sit at the end. No. So, Bartlett's Blueberry Farm. Well, okay, let's back up for a second. So, Kelly Simpson's heading up this light up Newport Middle High School football field. And
one of the many volunteer opportunities with either time or money.
She's done an amazing job, but she's been kind of disappointed because the last I knew she was around like 23,000, and we need 300. However, she posted this. I saw this, and I said, I need to mention this at the show, and I want to mention this at the meeting tonight because this is like truly awesome. So Bartlett's Blueberry Farm, if you've never been up there to pick blueberries, you should. Obviously, for the year now they've closed, but next year, I used to go there to pick blueberries like as a kid and stuff like that. But
that's the one up on
the Bradford Road. So
on the left as you're heading towards.
Yes, yep, Sunapee. And it's Luke's grandparents. So Luke Bartlett was our DJ.
Zeta's dance partner and Dancing with the Stars, Newport.
Yeah, so this is his grandparents' place. And so they have a sin bin up there. So basically, there's just like a donation bin that if you, because they weigh their blueberries, right? Or you pay either by the weight or by the pint or whatever. And so, we all do it, right? We go out in the field, you're picking and you're trying some. And so they just have this little thing, a sin bin, and people put donations in it. Well, this year, they got $3,835, which is the most ever, I guess. And I didn't know at the time, or I've never known, but all they do with this sin bin money is donate to a charity. So instead of taking the money and actually using it, putting it back in the farm, and they actually just, hey, this is a charitable thing, they donate. So this year they've decided to take the $3,835 from the sin bin and donate it to the Light Up the Newport Middle High School football field project. So huge shout out to Bartlett's Blueberry Farm and the family for doing that. They're very, they're a small farm business. That's a lot of money. You know, it really is. As much as, you know, we're so grateful for all the donations from all the businesses, but you know, this to me, I know it's a tough business to be in, what they're doing, and so to me, like, that's quite a bit of money, and that's huge. So thank you so much to Bartlett's for doing that, and that just helps.
Is there a website or anything for the lineup?
She has a Facebook page, but we should actually get her to come in here someday and talk about this, and because whether it happens this year, which I'm sure it won't, because of we're already in the football season and we're still raising, but I really want to make this happen, see this happen, and you know, $300,000 is a lot of money, but if you look at it as 3,000 people, $100, it's quick and simple. But it's just a process to try to get it going. So I think maybe we should, maybe we'll talk about it more on the show too, to try to, you know, it's for putting lights at the football field, and to do it so it's not taxpayer funded, because, you know, taxpayer funded things are hard to do because we're all strapped as it is, and you know, most people look at, well, lights on the football field is not a priority, but we would love to see it as fans of school football, and it's all donation. So
Yeah, it just adds one more. I mean, we have a state champion program
yeah,
proven over the
Yep.
decades.
and the awesome thing is, if we were to get the lights, we'd actually be able to do a night track and field event. It's possible we could even do a field hockey game, or not field hockey, but soccer. You know, there's options, perhaps, that we could do things in the future for different.
Yeah,
things.
if we can get it past the groundskeepers, because they're usually very strict with what type of, you know, activities can be played on certain fields. But yeah, it definitely opens it up. I mean, it opens it up to all kinds of things. Just having that infrastructure there.
So yeah, shout out to Bartlett's Blueberry Farm and all the people who've donated. And if you're interested in donating, even $10, $5, whatever.
Yeah, so we got about 280 donors. I still need to donate. I'll put myself out there as, and it's funny that you brought this up, because I've been meaning to ask you, like, what, do you have the flyer? Yeah, I'm missing a batch of paperwork. I don't know if it's because we had family coming for the graduation or whatever, but there's some stuff I need to find besides that. But it's like, I know exactly from the time frame that that's from, and I got to find that paperwork. It's just a matter of where did I
I'll
store it.
so that for next time, I will try to get all the information, and I'll just put it up at the end of the show, and we'll just keep it up there so that if anyone needs it,
Yeah,
and then I can also share this on the Facebook page. So, excuse me. So yeah, that was a.
That did not sound like allergies. And you turned this way. You should have turned that way. Did you learn anything during this pandemic?
This panic, fake pandemic.
It's a new normal, Tim. Turn away from me whenever you cough.
I'm so sorry.
New normal. Get out of my life.
Did you take your antibiotics for the nail you stepped on?
No, I forgot last night and this morning, so I need to.
He stepped on a nail and he's panicking, like straight up panicking, and I'm like,
I
for
have
real.
two
Please tell me.
close people to me that have blood poisoning right now, so it's a little.
Okay, one of them is an extraordinary circumstance, nothing to do nail related whatsoever. The other one, was the other one a nail?
He scraped it on his footboard, just a scrape
What's
on
a
his
footboard?
on the bed.
Oh,
Like you have a headboard and a footboard. Like I don't know if he was like.
that seemed like that's a Sally thing right there. The blood poisoning from that.
That's-
Make up a story, man. I was taking a woman
Hey,
out of a crash car.
He's one of the
and
toughest
cut my-
guys I know. Like this guy, probably the toughest guy I know, and that's why I was concerned whenever I stepped on. And then what did Nikki say? She said, "Did you have shoes on when you did it?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "That makes it even worse when it goes through rubber, through your sock, into your foot."
I probably had like
Well, no, that's the thing about
I
it.
probably had
though.
like 10 nails in my
No,
foot this summer.
I normally wouldn't even have thought twice about it, other than like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that." But because
Now let me ask you,
the two people I know,
how's his marriage?
it's good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
100% sure.
Yeah, she didn't.
Maybe she didn't kill him.
poison him. Nah. Now Nikki, on the other hand, who I was more concerned about than she was.
I wouldn't take the antibiotics. It's probably not antibiotics.
No, it's
All right, so
What a good rain we have coming in. This is perfect nap weather.
Yeah, I won't get a nap, and now I'm thinking, wonder what my driveway's going to look like.
It's going to be hard to traverse it once you get past the top portion of that one little area where you were kind of digging it out wider.
Yeah. Once again, rain we didn't need. Well, we do,
Well, my
but
pond needs it.
yeah, well, I got work to do.
Oh, yeah, that reminds me. You need the generator. I was going to get it for you.
Hey, you mind going to grab that right now for me? Bring a raincoat.
I got one.
So, New Hampshire tackles hunger. So, 2 o'clock at the home game this Saturday versus Newfound. So, if you show up to the game, please do support your football players and cheerleaders. And bring a canned good or jar of jelly or peanut butter or whatever. Just no glass is what they've asked. So go through your cupboard if you could and bring something in and say you heard it on our show. That'd be even better. Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah, we got a good amount of listeners, and that's why it's hard. Because we all probably, well, for most of the people that listen, the active, like, choose to listen to us on purpose because they're like, oh, let's see what's going on with old Tim and Steve. They probably have the same anger and disgust that I have towards most things that are going on in our state and our country, and in some aspects, even our town.
What's happening in our town you don't like?
No, I've talked about it whenever I was driving through South Dakota. The whole FAA thing really doesn't sit well with me. And I go back to the same thing. It was, you have to vote to stop me. Like a bureaucrat telling the elected people that they're going to have to take a vote to stop him when they're having a discussion to where he should be listening and not acting like he's in charge.
Yeah,
He is in charge
with
with the authority that they've allowed him to have.
that they've bestowed on him.
Yeah, that our charter, I'm sure we have a town charter that gives him some responsibilities. But at the end of the day,
Well, those 5 board members.
like I don't respond well to that kind of, and I'm, sometimes I think it's just crazy. So on one hand you have the whole, do we go to a federal aviation thing, whatever, and, being a good steward of the money, I understand. But then that's a conversation that you have when you have the people who have volunteered their time and they come in and say, this is a bad idea. That should give people pause to where, all right, well, first off, we're not going to act on this tonight. We obviously need to do more research and investigation.
Well, it was informative.
Well, it was informative in the sense of, I know who's running things at the town, and it's not our selectmen.
Well, it was
Based on that statement, it was only if they vote to stop him from doing something can
But
they,
according
are they
to
in charge of anything.
according to the agenda.
That
it
was his own comment, by the way. This isn't. I heard what he said. My perception is he gets to do whatever he wants unless they take a vote to stop him. Like he's in charge of our town.
That's not 8%. That's what was said.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like there. So you can't like deny it. You can't back talk it into something else or anything else. Those words said to those selectmen, you're not really in charge of me. So like you can vote on it and then okay, because now there's a vote. But if you don't vote on it to stop me, I'm doing this. I'm changing the fundamental makeup of the town's airport without this discussion having any bearing on what I'm going to do. And I have concern with that. When you're supposed to be acting on behalf of the citizens in good faith, who then we elect selectmen to give that faith to him, and then that's how they allow it to be. I got issue with that. And the selectmen should have issue with him saying that. And if they haven't addressed that, shame on them, because that should be addressed. So that's whenever I say I got issue with Newport. That comment alone let me know that our selectmen are not really in charge.
We should go to the next select board meeting and talk about it.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about it right now. But if I go and you go and Bert's there, then we're going to get accused of having a school board meeting. So, like, that's the thing.
We got to look into that because I think that's just BS.
Right. Like, we
You
got
can't
accused
say-
of it. I had no idea that
But you can't
that
say
one night Bert was going to say what he said, and then for
I wasn't even on
Miss-
the board then, though.
oh, that's true. So why did she say that?
I don't know.
That was Miss Irwin's accusation whenever she came on. Like, she came on and spoke that night and said that we were having a
Quasi.
quasi, I don't know, whatever she said, but it was implying that,
Or
like,
something.
Bert and I were ganging up on the superintendent outside of the school when I was there to listen to the 17 articles that were up for vote.
Here's the thing. That doesn't.
Like-
this is someone should like look at
Like,
this.
you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I got it. So when you're in the public eye, people are going to say things, but it's like you make that accusation, but then, you know, in a blanket thing, you don't just call up here and say, Steve, what were you doing there?
Yeah, but as
Like, ask me.
think about it. As taxpayers, think about the thing where okay, you're on the school board, so you can't be at anything altogether.
You can, but you have to be like of the perception, right? So Miss Irwin's perception that night was that we were there, or at least
did
me and
just
Bert
because
were
you were
there,
talking
and you
about
were
the
there, and yeah, it was because Mr. Spalding brought up stuff from the school board. But that's his prerogative. He can do that whatever he wants. I can go and I can say whatever I want.
That's why I don't.
I can't go with Bert, you, and like unless y'all did like we did. Well, I wasn't there, but whenever I left for Montana and y'all all went, y'all voted on it, right? So that was
But the reason that was done is
I suppose a
because
shadow school board.
shadow school. There you go. The reason that was done is because we went there with the intentions of speaking on behalf of the school board. But if you're just at the meeting, like Mr. Spalding is every single meeting,
Like every meeting in the town, not just
yeah, you can't not go because of the story you're there.
right. So that's what. So it doesn't make any sense in the fact now.
That'd be like if 3 selectmen are somewhere. Or you can't. You 3 can't be at the school board. It represents. No, that's not how it works.
No, yeah. So like if I say, hey, I'm going to go to the town meeting and like, because this isn't sitting right with me, and I need them to address why.
Right. It may be important
And-
to
and-
say I'm here as Steve, the resident,
Yeah.
versus.
Because there might be like there might be a good reason why he worded it that way, but from an outsider listening and watching that on tape, it sounded to me like, no, I'm in charge here. I'm doing this because it's what makes sense to me, and you've given me this authority. And so, and maybe they have, and maybe that's when somebody should have said, well, let's talk about this authority that you think you have, to where we have to vote to stop you. If we're having a conversation about it, that should be your clue of like, stop moving with it, and maybe we're going to have of a discussion about it. And maybe someone on the select board should have said that. But, and granted, I don't know everything there is to know about the FAA. I just know that from watching that episode, you had the volunteers that work down there say, hey, this isn't the golden goose that you think it's going to be. You need to do your due diligence, because the one guy was like saying, we can call other places. And the exact same thing that he did, Hunter did, and said that Hunter's takes priority, I guess, because he's the actual town manager, because he said he called and talked to one town and they don't have any problems with it. I'm like, well, so you talked to one and you're saying he talked to one, and you can't base it off of talking to one person, but that's what you just said that you did. Like, am I the one that's crazy here? Like, that's what drives me nuts, is like you sat there and you said the exact same thing that he did, and now you're trying to admonish him for it, but you're doing the same thing.
The funny thing is, in the past, I've heard him say like he works at the pleasure of the board
Yeah, exactly.
because he's been pretty good at that in the past.
No, I've said it before. I even said it when I was on the phone. Like, Hunter is doing what he thinks is best from a financial perspective. He does not have any loyalty to this town in the sense of what makes it, gives it its quirkiness or anything else. He's there to perform a function.
Yeah.
And, okay, I respect that. But then the selectmen need to say, hey, well, you know what? You're doing this at our pleasure, and our pleasure is to keep Newport local, small, contained, and less federal involvement. And maybe the selectmen don't really care about that, but they should.
Yeah, at least a couple do.
Yeah, well, allegedly.
Let's talk some more.
Anyway, that's my. I just have issue with that whole way that all went down, it doesn't sit right with me. And we all make mistakes with our words, and that might be what happened, but it did not come across to me
was
that
a
way.
mistake. So,
If you want to know how I'm really feeling about that.
Whether I wanted to know or not, I know now. It's not, I know how you feel about it. Now they know. That's the important part. School board meeting tonight. You can come and vent at Steve for 6 minutes if you like, because you're allowed 6 minutes to speak now, which is nice. And you can actually get an awful lot done in 6 minutes. So that's a policy change that, as much as I would like to just be like, yeah, just speak, not have a limit, but I can see sometimes where it'd be important. And sometimes I sit there and I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not Jenna and have to tell Miss Wells that her time has expired and now she needs to, let someone else speak. That's a tough one. But, so yeah, tonight, school board meeting. And on one other thing, local, as in New Hampshire. So, Wyndham election results. I don't know if you've seen that, but very interesting. So under the Democrats, so Wyndham is the town that had the controversy over voting back in 2020. I was told it's because of a crease in the ballot when they mailed it. Caused issues because it was right on the thing that the system read, blah, blah, blah. But starting to wonder, maybe it's more than that. So, excuse me. The more I talk, my throat gets itchy, and I want to cough.
I don't really care, man.
No, we spend enough time together. You should, if I have something, you should get it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So, Democrat election primary last Tuesday. Yeah, last Tuesday, yeah.
Are you putting this up on the screen for them to see?
Sure. I'll put this up on the screen. I don't know how well you can see it, but total ballots cast, 673. Ready for this one? U.S. Senate, Maggie Hassan, 675 ballots cast for her. But I thought 673 people voted. So she has 2 more votes than were cast. But the top guy got 17. John, let's call him Rigatoni. I don't know. Ruggieri. Rigatoni sounds so much better. 14, write-in, 8. 714 ballots. 714 votes for Senate. 673 ballots were cast. Now they're saying that this didn't count absentee ballots. However, unless they do it different, and I don't believe so because I believe election law is election law, so if it's in Newport, Claremont, anywhere, it's the same. I've literally been down at voting day before in Newport. Election person opens up the envelope, pulls out the ballot, reads out the person's name out loud, and says they have a ballot. They take that ballot over to the machine, give it to the lady, puts it in the machine, reads the ballot. I think that's a BS.
You're saying the excuse that this is off because it's not counting the absentee ballots on that total number of 673?
Right.
Yeah, well, you got to be, like, this is with anything that I read or see or hear is, parts of this are probably correct, right? So I don't know. I don't know where they get the total ballots cast for Democratic 673. If that number, because you can go and grab ours off of the internet. Usually they post it, kind of similar to this, but it has handwriting on it. So I don't know.
This did too.
I don't know if this has been manipulated at all.
There was another one they had shared that.
It was more like ours at the end of the night whenever they post it, so you can see it.
Yeah, this is just a clear one. I don't know if I can find it, but it's just, they say voting machines are faster and they're more accurate, but I mean, 675 ballots. Me and you could have done that ourselves, counting those up. I could have read them to you. You would have checked on a little box, and
Yeah. It's not that difficult to hand count ballots.
we've done it for years.
It's a
Even in
lazy
cities.
it's a lazy excuse to say that you can't do it. Now, I'm all about using technology to our advantage. Question is that technology, is it clean technology? Is it not connected to the internet? Can it not be manipulated? Is that it?
Yes, but does it? This is the Republican, it's the Democrat one. No, this is the.
Yeah, that's not it.
Seabrook, never mind. Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, but those are the questions that I have. So before I,
Have you seen? Oh, you don't have regular TV, but excuse me. I can't handle these Maggie Hassan commercials, these ads. I just can't, oh my god, I just can't do it. Like, come on there, and you have one negative ad against Bulldog. He's gonna ban abortion. Okay, so why don't the Democrats, who are in control of the House and the Senate and the President, why don't they just pass a law right now that in all 50 states abortion's legal? Why don't they do that? Well, no, they're going to say that he's going to take away your abortion rights, but you're not doing anything to fix the abortion rights. And then they talk about how she's good at balancing budgets and blah, blah, blah.
well, really?
She's 97% of the time voted for the party line, and the situation we're in right now is caused by the Democrats who are in control. Yet, there's people out, and they must be spending stupid money this year, because I've never seen so many freaking Senate ads before. Not Bulldog. I've seen a few. Hassan is spending huge money. I watch Red Sox, and I bet there's, during the course of the whole game, 10 ads for her.
Well, so my internet comes through, I guess the hub must be in New York City.
Yep.
So I get to see Hochul's ads against Zeldin. So I see all the New York governor ads, the 15-second. Look, here's the end of the day. If you have ever studied politics and political parties and how governments run and operate and what's the telltale sign of this, that, or the other, the fact that the sitting president called a very large voting block of people terrorists. I mean, he walked it back a little bit, but that is exactly what, let's say that, I don't know, Zelensky did over in Ukraine, where he got rid of the opposition party.
Isn't that what Stalin did?
Yes. So, say whatever you want. Say that Biden doesn't know what he's saying or anything else, and just like he declared the pandemic is over, but then everybody corrected him because they got to keep that going, right? Because it's too much money attached to the pandemic and the power that everybody gets from the emergency orders. Think about all the power that they've had now for 3 years. That's a lot of power to give up, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. My point being that things are not looking good in this country. Like the rhetoric that's going around from sitting presidents and the fact that they're attacking an ex-president, and that's not to say, think of him whatever you want. This is unprecedented in U.S. history. It's not unprecedented in history if you go back and look and see what's to come after this kind of, this is obviously a persecution. Am I saying that everybody who walked in the Capitol on January 6th is innocent? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? There's rules, and you got to follow the rules, stay within the barriers. Now, you have people, allegedly, that haven't gotten even a trial date yet, that were rioting or whatever you want to call it, that protesting at the Capitol, because that was a protest, right? It was a protest. I don't remember anything catching on fire, burning. There was some stuff that was alleged to have been stolen and broken.
No, Democrats, they do that. Burn cities down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my point is so you have those guys and gals allegedly sitting up and, without a date, not, they're basically political prisoners allegedly. And then you have a guy runs over a kid trying to, I don't know the whole story or whatever, but at the end of the day, the guy that ran the kid over the other day
And kill them.
killed him because he was a Republican. He was handing out Republican material out on bail, back out on the street.
So
that's my issue,
I thought
right?
only
So like,
Republicans did this, though.
that's
How come all the stories are all Democrats killing people? It's weird.
yeah, allegedly over a political disagreement.
Yeah.
So he acknowledged it.
North Dakota man is in custody after he allegedly struck and killed a teenager over a political disagreement. In the early hours of Sunday morning, Shannon Brandt, 41, chased. What the hell?
Kaler Ellington or Ellingen?
Wait,
Ellington?
18 down an alley in McHenry, North Dakota, and then hit him with an SUV, according to the police. And then Brandt called the 911 at 2:35 and reported the incident, telling dispatcher that Ellington was a member of the Republican extremist group who was attempted to sick his friends on Brandt. Brandt supposedly stated he was afraid that the group was coming to get him. Probably all the
So this was at
Drugs is
2:30 in the morning?
yeah.
So there was a political rally going on at 2:30 in the
Wow.
morning?
Ellington just attended a street dance earlier that night,
Wow.
and he had called his mother. Now has set up a GoFundMe to pay for her son's funeral because this Democrat.
He called his mother to come pick him up? Or?
No. Well,
What
yeah,
did it
maybe I don't
say?
know. It didn't
You
say.
started to read it.
It said he called his mother, according to the GoFundMe, and asked her. Oh, excuse me. Yes, I'm wrong. You're right. Asked her to come pick him up, and then Sailor was
Killed.
was killed before she could get there. Yeah, good times. And he's out on $50,000 bail.
Scroll
He's-
back up a little bit.
Oh.
Just a tiny bit. Brandt is an alleged acquaintance of Sherry's. Who's Sherry? Is that his mom?
Mhm. So
So he knew the family?
that story doesn't go very far, does it?
So,
I was
yeah, I mean, as you
scared.
peel the onions back, here's at the end of the day, like, I don't know anything other than the fact that he's out. He intentionally hit a person with his car. And
Well, of
he's
course
out.
you knew him. This is a teeny town of 100 freaking people. Located about 2 hours northwest of Fargo. Yep. Yeah. Yep. How these Fargo people talk? Remember that show Fargo or movie? I don't know.
I do remember that. There was a wood chipping scene. Anyway, my whole point of my whole little tirade there is just that things are not looking good in the grand scheme of things as far as national discourse of agreeing to disagree. It goes back to that book I read in 1996 about a non-establishment being elected. It would be the downfall of the government because look what happened.
So,
With an outsider, we had low gas, no new wars, treaties that weren't BS. You know, we were decoupling from the WHO and all that other stuff, and now we're right back in it. We have higher taxes, gas is up the wazoo, heating is up the wazoo, the farming industry is under attack. There's just all kinds of craziness here that don't bode well with us unless we stand up and we just have to say, hey, stop doing this. Like, this is us, your citizens, telling you, you've seen the polls, 62% of us vehemently disagree with the direction. You keep calling this falsely a democracy. We're a constitutional republic, and it keeps using the BS line of our democracy will fail. This isn't a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And if it were a democracy, then when 62% of us say you're doing the wrong things, even if we don't call into you, you should realize that you're upsetting the American people quite a bit, that you're not doing what the people that you represent want you to do. It's that simple. The polls say it.
I have a question.
So if it's a democracy, do what the polls say, and if it's not a democracy, start calling it a constitutional republic like it is, and stop doing the whole democracy BS. It's such garbage.
This will be controversial, but so they're trying to blame Trump for the insurrection on January 6th, right? And they try to blame him for a lot of things, right? The Democrat that murdered the news person out in Vegas, Trump's fault. The hate for reporters. Shouldn't this be Biden's fault, being he called half the country a bunch of terrorists because they were MAGA supporters, and this guy killed this kid because he was a Republican extremist? So shouldn't Biden be held responsible for this?
If the news was fair and balanced, or if the news reported equally across the board, then yes, they would use the same baloney rhetoric, which it's not Trump's fault, nor is it Biden's fault. It's
The other thing about the whole
it's
January
charged
6th
language, and then there are people out there that will take action because they're,
the only thing about the whole January 6th
not
thing
all the way there.
people don't pay enough attention to, but the only laws those people technically broke, besides the 2 or 3 people that broke windows, which arrest them, throw them. I don't care, whatever. They broke laws. Come in your house, break a window, it's still illegal, right? If the vice president and the vice president to be weren't in the building, which she wasn't, and they still never, I don't think, proved he was, but only because he was in the building did they commit any crimes. Other than that, they can go in the building.
I don't even know anything about that. I know that
I heard it from
I've watched videos
person.
of Ray Epps calling people for 2 days to go, and
The FBI guy?
well, they don't know, right? Did you watch those clips?
Or was it
Have you-
CIA?
Have you seen the clips where everybody
No.
asked?
The one
Cruz asked. I think
The only one
Howley's
not
asked.
charged? The only one not charged?
Well, he was on the most wanted list for 6 months,
Yeah. Then they changed their mind.
and now they can't say anything about him, and he hasn't been charged. So, I mean, that's all out there. This isn't a conspiracy. This is Ray Epps. You can go watch the videos of him. You can watch the crowd even call him out and say, "You're a Fed," and then they start chanting Fed at him. So I say that to say that some of this was instigated, and you can see the writing on the wall if you go back to what I said earlier and you look at other examples in history where they try to make.
Are you saying the FBI is capable of this?
I'm saying that there are elements within any organization that are capable
Wasn't that
of.
North Dakota or was that Illinois?
Michigan?
Michigan.
Michigan's governor, where they did and plotted the whole thing, and
FBI.
yeah.
And then after another judge came in, they found 2 guys guilty.
Oh, they did.
Amazing how that happens, isn't it? Couldn't find him guilty the first time. We'll just judge shop, because that's how that works in America now.
Well, if you watch enough Law and Order, I mean, you see them all finagling to,
Yes.
hey, you're not going to be able to get off on this, so let's just take you for a plea deal. And then innocent people, on these shows anyway, right? So I'm not saying everybody convicted is
They
innocent.
resemble life. Well, yeah,
But
no.
you know what I mean? Like, life imitates art, art imitates life, however you want to look at it. But, they shop for
a favorable judge.
Well, a favorable judge, or, well, if you do 2 years, we'll drop these 3 charges, and you only, have to do 2 years for this, and on good behavior, you'll get out after like 6 months or whatever.
I've said
But-
this before.
I mean, you see that on the TV, and granted, I'm not a lawyer or anything else.
Besides politics
but life
being,
imitates art, and art imitates life.
I mean, politics is the most corrupt, screwed up thing in this country that's wrecking our country. But the other thing I would say is judges.
And our forefathers knew that, by the way. Like, the whole Constitution is written as that government's a necessary evil that we have to have, and we have to keep it in check.
The exact government we have right now.
Yes.
The exact government right now. Judges don't uphold laws. They're supposed to. Here's the law. This is what you did.
Not all judges, but yes, I'm with you.
Many,
Some.
especially the higher they up they go, the more, So we just get a judge that was appointed by a Democrat. You get Democrat outcome.
Well, I mean, look at it. The judge that signed off on going after Mar-a-Lago, he was.
You mean the Epstein one?
Well, he was aligned with the Epstein case in some form or fashion. Like I can't talk about it because my computer's dead, but
Hey, it was like something. Yeah, it was something.
he was involved. Yes, like his name is attached to Epstein in some form or fashion.
Yeah, and he actually.
Isn't that interesting though? Of all the judges, that's the one that signs off on it. So to me, even if it's justified, right? I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying look at the circumstances, right? So because I don't know all the facts, but I can make a good judgment that there are thousands of judges out there, and the one they got to sign off on this is somehow connected to Epstein.
Yeah. Well, they have something over him.
Maybe. I'm just saying it's an interesting. This is one of those coincidences where you're like, is it a coincidence though?
I don't believe.
Are there such
coincidences.
things as coincidences?
That's a big negative.
Anyway, these are the kinds of questions that keep me up at night. Like, what's the connection there?
All right. Here's our meme of the day. Then we're wrapping it up. Batteries do not make electricity. They store electricity made elsewhere. Primarily produced by coal, uranium, natural gas, and diesel. Only functional amounts of electricity are produced by wind, solar, and hydro. So your argument that an EV is zero emissions vehicle is a lie.
Yeah, well, we've said that thousands of times, and I'm pretty sure anybody watching the show realizes that.
Because we have smart listeners.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take much to. Hey, all you got to do is realize that the same week that they shut off electricity in California because it's hot, even though it's
2
hotter
days
in
later.
Florida. A day or two later. Yeah, I don't know.
Two. It was Monday. Wednesday they did it.
And on Wednesday, they were like, all cars will be electrical. Hey, I went off on you before the show started, but here's the thing. You can call this a slippery slope. I'm with you. Like the slippery slope is very much a real slope. It's like it's pretty much
analogy.
like
The hole we're in now from the slope we fell into.
exactly but it's a slippery slope. The next thing you know, it's Steve. I don't like what you and Tim said on your show today. So your car's not going to start, and you're probably not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z until you make amends to what you said and backtrack it or delete it, or you go and get some re-education. You can't use anything. So that's why there's the Internet of Things is good, but it's also bad. That's where everything's connected, because if it's connected to the Internet, it can be shut off by somebody.
This is why I'm a member of the Anti-Commie Voting Club.
Well, I just say, there's warnings that have been given to us throughout time, Tim, which technology, while it can be good, can also be bad. And, I'm all about making life easier for us so that we can focus on better things, easier things, but sometimes it can be used against you, and you got to be careful for what you wish for. So your phone that can do everything, connect to everything, can also do, I'm not some paranoid weirdo. What I'm just saying is that look and see how they do things on the social credit score over in China. Just look that up and then tell me that you don't see some similarities that they were trying to put in place with the whole pandemic and here in the aftermath of. There's just some things that are getting very close to social credit scores. Digital currency. Use cash whenever you can, because if they can shut off your bank accounts like they did in Canada, they actually did it to people who donated to the truckers. They shut down their bank accounts. And even yesterday, I think it was yesterday, in the last day or two, Representative Tlaib was interviewing the bankers. Did you see that? She asked what they're going to do to get onto her whole 2050, get rid of all carbon emissions, probably. There's probably some social justice thing on there as well as environmental justice, but
Where the carbon they want to get rid of.
But I'm pretty sure, what was it? Anyway, the first one that she asked, he was like, "Absolutely not. Like that would put America on the road to hell. I'm not doing any of that." And then she went off and told everybody to pull their money out of his bank. Was it J.D. Morgan? Is that one of the banks? I think it might have been.
Yeah.
I think it might have been
It's one of the big
CEO of that bank was the first one. So that's the clip that gets played. But he was like, "Yeah, no." J.P. Morgan was like, "Yeah, no." J.P. I say J.D.
No, JP, yeah.
J.P. Morgan. Anyway, I think that was him. But anyway, like those kinds of things, when they're trying to get the banks in on this, and I'm pretty sure that might have been for like coal and carbon, but it's all tied together. And he was like, absolutely not. And then she went off on him because he's not playing the game. And to me, there's only one reason why they want us all on digital currency, why they want us all in electric cars that can be controlled. Because I saw another rumor that like a guy wouldn't pay $23,000 for Tesla to give him a battery, so Tesla locked his car out.
Yep. So that's
So he doesn't own that car. Tesla owns that car.
apparently.
So again, you'll own nothing and you'll like it.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my slippery slope. I tied it all the way down to Tesla's locking a guy out of his own car that he paid for. Because he needs a new battery and he doesn't want to buy it from Tesla. He wants to go somewhere else. Because the battery is like $23,000, right?
6.
Something like that. Anyway, you can fact check me. I watched something the other day where they fact checked somebody, like USA Today did, on Nancy Pelosi's her net worth. So somebody had said, you know, she's lived on a $100,000 salary, whatever, and she has $196 million net worth. And USA Today, I think, fact checked it and said she's only worth $106 million. Like this is false. It's only $106 million. It goes back to the media is a propagandist tool. Oh, so you're a liar. She's not worth 196. She's only worth 106 million. And I'm pretty sure I saw that on a liberal talk show. I looked it up. Might have been Jimmy Dore, but I just thought that was funny. It was worth looking it up after I saw it, and I was like, no way. Because I always talk about that with you and my buddy John Paul about if you read a fact check, they'll fact check one portion, and they'll be like, he said that on a Saturday, so this is false. Like everything else is true, but because he said last Wednesday.
We didn't need fact checkers until they just started trying to hide the truth.
Exactly.
Like, fact checkers are a new thing. We didn't have fact checkers not long ago.
Yeah, the fact checkers were me and you being like, nah, dude, that's not real. We
No.
fact checked ourselves. So, like, if you started saying something that was, like, off the rails, I'd be like, hang on a second, Tom.
Right.
Where are you getting this information from? Let's look this up. And then you and I would have a discussion over it. And either I would see it or I'd be like, nah, look, this is a made-up site or what, you know what I mean? But, like, that's how it's supposed to be because we're supposed to be smart enough to be able to discern truth from fiction.
All right. On that note,
Discern, buddy.
it's supposed to be cold tomorrow. Did you see that?
I did.
Hang on.
50?
Go to your favorite weather place.
CNN of the North.
True. Yeah, 56 tomorrow for the high. Whew.
You gonna wear some jeans for that? A low of 43.
I think I'm going to wear jeans tomorrow. Oof.
I'll have jeans on.
Saturday looks beautiful.
Today.
Sunny, 67. Freaking more rain. PM showers Sunday, showers Monday. That looks good.
Fill the pond back up.
Screw the pond, man. I've got work to do. Outside work. No rain. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. So there are times in the next probably 2 months that we'll intend to do a show like the next day. Then it might not happen because of things I've got going on because I kind of need a place to live. So just a heads up. It's not that we don't want to do a show, but sometimes I just like have to get something done and it's more important that I have a place to live.
Yeah, or we can wake up at 5.
Like I said, it's more important to have a place to live. I try getting up earlier. It's hard.
It's hard for me because I hate sleeping, but we've talked about that ad nauseum.
Yes. All right. Stay dry. It's a good day if you're a duck because it's rainy and crappy. Hopefully the show uploads. Remember last time it rained, it took forever.
Yeah. It might be Friday by the time anybody sees this.
Maybe. Come see us tonight at the school board meeting. you can speak public comment. You can just sit there and participate by being there and part of the government process. And yeah, if not, yeah. We will see you next time. For Tim and Steve, thank you very much. Have a good day.